Okay, I guess we're good to start then. Everybody can hear me okay. I want to welcome each of you to this. I'm going to call it a discussion because I'm sure that you'll have some great questions and I'll be able to have some great answers for you as we look at this product offering for us. So the JENEsys Edge VAV controller, or the Edge VAV. Um, you Some of you are probably already familiar with it. It's gone through a couple of versions, and right now we are proud to announce version 2.2. So with no further ado, we go. If you have not heard about this, um, and before we start with this, let me tell you that we're not just going to go over original stuff so you're completely bored. We're going to have a mix of original information for those who are new to the Edge VAV, as well as we'll showcase some items that we brought in new for the latest version. But with that, the JENEsys Edge VAV controller is the only IP-based Niagara framework VAV controller. Now, what I mean by that is that uh, there are a lot of controllers out there that are IP-based. However, they're BACnet IP-based or some other protocol. Our IP-based Edge VAV controller is not only Niagara enabled, it has Niagara embedded into it. We're the only ones that do that. So that allows us to utilize the Fox protocol and maintain a level of efficiency that has been the trademark of that Fox protocol. Now, what we've added to this are a measure of tools, including a configuration tool, what we're calling the Onyxx Rapid Integration Tool. This is a quick way of building out your supervisor. As well as, if needed, configuring all your VAV devices from a central location. We'll also have a continuous commissioning feature inside the Edge VAV that will drive dampers and heating to their extremes, measure the response, determine whether it's pass or fail, and then produce a report that's sent up to the supervisor. So lots of good tools. All of them are built to do two things: maintain the life cycle of your system, as well as provide the quickest time to go from a box of VAV controllers to having them up in the ceiling, uh, wired, mounted, operating. And that leads us to our what we're really looking at, that 50% savings in engineering time, lower cost of installation, and increasing the life cycle. Now that getting down to some of the more hardware aspects, the Edge VAV has 15 inputs and outputs, 14 of which are configurable. That 15th one is the air differential pressure that all VAVs have. There is no protocol conversion. These come straight in. Everything for the I/O is handled within the controller. All right, so what is the JENEsys Edge VAV? As we mentioned, it's IP enabled. It utilizes the spanning tree protocol to increase uptime. If you're not familiar with the spanning tree protocol, it is a loop-based network where the network cable, Cat5 cables, will go out, daisy chain with all the controllers, and then come back to the switch. That loop utilizes the spanning tree protocol so that if a controller goes down, then it will reroute the signal and um, allow the communication to be maintained, except for that controller. So it doesn't orphan them. It doesn't. It's just a measure to increase that uptime. We have a special license which we'll look at. We can factory commission these. That means, well, what I mean by that is that um, it means that we will load a station inside these controllers that already has a default configuration in them. Now we're adding to that factory commissioned with the with a system called a turnkey solution, which we'll go into later. But just so you know, basically the controllers that you receive from us are not just blank devices that you have to go through the whole commissioning. They're already commissioned. They already have a station on them. Without our turnkey solution, all you need to do is set their IP addresses. Okay. Okay, we have a robust and tested sequence of operation. There are actually two types, and this second type is new to this latest version. So, in previous versions, we only had the ASHRAE guideline 36. We've added a standard VAV station, which has a more regular, less intensive sequence of operation, let's say. Uh, that is now going to be our default. So if you don't specify any otherwise, you'll get the standard sequence of operation. But if you want the guideline 36, then you'll have to request that when you order the VAVs. Uh, Regardless of the sequence of operation, we are utilizing 21 possible VAV configurations, including stage reheat, SCR or valve, um, support for series and parallel fans, dual duct, and ventilation, which is a constant volume. So all those are supported. Okay, again, the tools, the VAV configuration tool, the rapid integration tool, continuous commissioning, and now the turnkey solution. And if you're not familiar with, if the Onyxx rapid integration tool is new to you, it's really about building the supervisor tree, creating graphics, building logic, and configuring a supervisor station. One tool to completely build your supervisor. So very valuable. Okay, in addition, the graphics that are built. Now, these are these graphics, we had them specially made and built into a format that really works well. Uh, if you want to utilize reflow graphics, you can, and several of our partners have. Uh, but these graphics are there for you to use. So there's no need to build anything. The VAV configuration tool is just that. It is a window-based tool. We'll look at it in a little bit. Just basically, that configuration tool essentially allows you to build out how the supervisor tree will look and then export that information to a spreadsheet. In addition, some of our graphic views, they're the balancing tool, the commissioning tool. In the VAV, there is the commissioning portion is more of a viewport into what's happening during commissioning. And the supervisor, it becomes a commissioning manager where you can monitor the status of all the VAVs that are being commissioned in the zone. We have configurable inputs and outputs. One of the new things with this latest version is universal inputs are now also configurable. We have auxiliary options. In fact, auxiliary heating options, we have 8 of them, actually analog or digital, but we can show on the graphic whether it's going to be fin tube or a booster coil or a radiant panel or a unit heater. We have four modes of exhaust fan control. That exhaust fan control includes a set point differential from the cooling set point, its own set point, or it can be manual control through the Fox network. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the spanning tree. I don't want to go into too great a detail um, because it can get very technically detailed, and I don't want to bore you guys to tears. But I will say one of the key things about the spanning tree protocol is attached to network switches. So this is something that if you want to utilize this to increase your uptime, then you'll have to work with your department IT, your IT department, in order to get a get a switch that is compatible. Now, of late, for the spanning tree, they have developed technology for the rapid spanning tree protocol. This type of rapid spanning tree protocol allows allows for that rerouting to happen at a much faster rate. Now, our controllers do not yet support the rapid spanning tree protocol, but if you do get a switch that has that, our controllers will still support because when rapid spanning tree protocol is enabled, if it's not available on the device, then it will step down to use the regular spanning tree protocol. Okay, so if you decide not to go with spanning tree protocol, you will not be creating a loop. You'll just be going out and daisy chain controllers. I've seen this at a lot of installations. The daisy chain part, I think, is a key element that helps save you time and wiring when these are being set up. But we do ask that if you're not using the spanning tree protocol, that you limit that to 5 devices on uh, a single string. Excuse me. Now that 5 is not electrical limitation. Uh, it's more of a guideline. The more you add to a daisy chain, the increase of the risk of more, excuse me, of more and more devices. If one breaks down, then more will fall as well. If you do use Spanish tree protocol, we recommend limiting it to 25 in a single loop. Again, for the same reasons, is that it's a fair level of risk. You want to avoid trying to put a ton of them on there because the more you put on, the more chances you might have of multiple VAVs going down at once. Okay, this is an interesting one, but one thing to note, you'll see the primary and secondary uh, Cat5 connections on these VAV controllers that do allow you to daisy chain, and that is far and away the old method of home running them back to several switches. Okay, we have a new licensing model. This is for everyone, and it just went active. For the Edge VAVs, when new ones are purchased and shipped, they will ship with a base license that allows for one non-edge device, and that non-edge device refers to like a BACnet or a Modbus device. Also, 14 of those non-edge points, one edge device, one which is taken up by the controller itself, and 14 edge points. So that would be in the form of additional or the inputs and outputs. Now, if you do need additional for whatever reason, you can purchase an adder, which will give you an additional edge device and additional edge points, 25 points in all. Now, you don't have to do anything special. If you just order them, they are licensed in the factory and then sent out. If you want the adder, that is something that you would purchase separately from the VAV, and then if it's purchased at the same time, then we can do that for you, or you can do it after you receive the device.
And I just wanted to drop a note in here. Make sure that you sign up for our webinar next week. We'll get a little bit more detailed on how the new points work, how the new licensing options can help you be more competitive with your projects by only getting what you need for the project. So we'll have an email going out about that tomorrow. Make sure you sign up.
Okay, the JENEsys Edge VAV configuration tool. I don't know how many of you have used this. It's been available for about a year. This latest version 2.0 release has a bunch of additional features. We go to a single device, as you can see on the screen. I'm sorry, not a device, a single window instead of the 3 windows that were used with the version 1.0. We can get, if we have time, we can get into a specific detail of all the new features, but I want to focus on the Edge VAV for the primary part of this this discussion. Now, this is again a Windows-based tool, so it's not available in Niagara. Its function is to configure your system. You put everything into this user-friendly environment, and then hit the export button. And I mentioned before the Onyxx Rapid Integration tool, which we'll look at here. Now, what happens in the Edge configuration tool, you do all the configuration, then you export that out to a spreadsheet. That spreadsheet is imported from the Onyxx Rapid Integration tool, which is something that is in the supervisor and run under Niagara. And the output of that tool will be to build all the supervisor stations that are represented not only for each device, but also a hierarchical structure that starts with that air handler level. Underneath that is a zone level, and then underneath the zones are all the VAVs. So it not only builds out the VAV stations, but it structures everything too. Okay, so I mentioned before there were several types of VAVs. I want to go through them here. Now I've got 21 types, and I'm not really going to go through them in minute detail because we're just going to go through them fairly quickly. But you'll get an idea of all of the configurations that we support. Oh, you know what? No, let's keep going. So cooling only, and then also call it no fan, but it's basically no fan staged, 1 to 4 stages, a hot water valve and an SCR option. And these graphics you're seeing up top here are the graphics you will see on the default graphics. So a fan powered box with no heat, 1 to 3 stages of heat, a hot water valve and an SCR version, and then a series fan with stage heat, also 1 to 3 stages, the hot water valve, the SCR heating, a dual duct, which the style is the minimum cold duct. This is something new to this version. It does require 2 JENEsys Edge VAV controllers, 1 for the cold deck, 1 for the hot deck. With the bundle that we currently have up on our resource site, there is a hot deck station that you would use to install on the hot deck Edge VAV controller. It is specially designed to talk only with the cold deck its cold deck partner. As far as a supervisor, everything from the cold deck is seen. Okay, we also support ventilation mode. Now, ventilation doesn't require the thermostat, and it's a constant volume source. So, all in all, 21 types and one small controller. We'll look at the configuration of the I/O. Now, I don't want to go through this in a minute detail because we'll quickly run out of time. But we have the different types of digital outputs that can be configured. And we're talking about configuring them. What it means is that you can configure the heating stages to whichever digital output you want. You could, for a 4-stage, no heat configuration, you could set them up. DO1 is stage 1, DO2 is stage 2 and on. Or if you want to mix it up, you could say DO4 is stage 1, DO3 is stage 2. Whatever is best. This allows you for each partner to establish your own standard of I/O configuration. So we have certain defaults that we put through, but this is something where you can say we always have our space temperature on this, or we always have our fan output on this digital output. Having these configured allows you to establish your own standard. Okay, we also have exhaust heating and exhaust fan control. And again, here are the 4 types, control types for auxiliary heating, and the 4 modes for exhaust fans. Hey, for analog outputs, we do have pretty much what you think: auxiliary heat, analog control, the cooling damper, valves, SCRs, and ECM for variable speed box fans. For universal inputs, and again, this is new. The digital outputs and analog output configurations, those were available, but now we also have the universal inputs. Quite a few selections in here for the different inputs. So type 2 and 3, space and discharge temperature. Also type 2 and type 3 for ACI sliders. For the Boolean, we have fan status, room occupancy, exhaust fan and window switch, feedback on the damper position, and then 4 options for CO2. Our default settings are space type 3 on U1 for space temperature, also type 3 for discharge, and then the actuator feedback. Okay, so I'm going to pause there because I see a couple questions that have come through. Matthew, I don't know if you want to establish a standard where we answer all the questions at the end or as they come.
Really, whatever you're comfortable with is fine.
Okay. Well, I'd like to catch them as they come, as I notice them, because a lot of them could have a particular focus on what I've just covered. So I'm going to go back a moment to the configuration tool. I did not mention this is provided to you at no extra cost. We have a bundle for the version 2.2 VAV that includes a standard supervisor station. It also includes the standard NG36 stations as well as the hot duct stations, but it also includes the latest version of this configuration tool. We also have a question regarding The BLEMOs, can you use something other than BLEMOs? We recommend and have the BLEMO actuators as a ready-made purchasable options alongside your VAV. But as long as the actuator has the torque, you want to make sure about making it compatible with the BLEMO. That would be acceptable too. What we do is we provide a signal to it. What we also like, especially for the commissioning, is having that feedback. So if you're going to get another actuator besides BLEMO, excuse me, besides BLEMO, make sure that it has a voltage or resistance free feedback. So we can integrate, or you can integrate that into the controller. Also, the 4 types of control, we do support not just 2 to 10, but also 0 to 10. And uh, if you want to, you can go reverse voltage. Okay. Now, with that, we'll continue with the look at the graphics. Again, these are pre-built graphics. We have 2 types. What you're seeing here is the user view. This is a standard makeup that looks at a system, a VAV system, and gives you the most pertinent information on it. If you don't have exhaust fan uh, on your system, this is hidden. You don't have fin tube, this is hidden. This graphic will change based off the type of fin tube. I'm sorry, the type of auxiliary heat. If you don't have CO2, then it will not appear. Um, and we have also added this rolling average, sort of a way to have you see what's been happening across time. Okay, lots of information about the type, including some global information. We have a status of communications with the supervisor. And then in the set point section, I mean, these are your flows, but in the set point section, these are set using either a group of cooling or a group of single set point. The single set point allows you to use one set point, and then an offset is generated to provide the heating set point. But that way you can only need to manage one set point. 2 if you count the unoccupied cooling and heating. Okay. Um, you can decide for yourself whether you want the set point to come from if you have a digital stat, to come from a digital stat, or you can choose to set it up so that you determine what it is using what's called the graphics set point, and you're just right clicking on these to access those specific types. Uh, if you choose a global, which is the other option, there are pre-built uh, pre-built set points. I think at excuse me, at 74 degrees cooling and 72 degrees heating. Okay, this is the set point I mentioned. Guess I should have waited for that, but I won't. I don't want to repeat myself. Floor plans and summaries at the VAV. This is at the supervisor. So there's a button in the rapid integration tool that will add floor plans and summaries. So at the AHU level, for every VAV in all zones under that AHU, you'll see a table with several different types of points for you to monitor. Now, this also has I don't know exactly what you call it. Let's call it just shading. You can see on the screen where the space temperature is blue or red, or a shade of blue or red. indicating how far it is away, above or below set point. For the floor plans, we have a block that includes the VAV name and its value along with that shading. And the idea here is that you could bring in a floor plan and then you can place these however you need to. So what it gives you by default is just the block of the VAV name and the space temperature value. Um, so importing this floor plan, moving these to their correct locations, you can get this configured really quickly. Also, that name, that VAV name there is a link to this graphic. Okay, this is looking at, we're not going to take a few moments. I want to make sure I'm cognizant of the time. Looking at some of the new features that we've added for version 2.2. One of them is a configuration for those new installations. Let's say, I'm sure all of you have encountered this, where you have a new installation, you're putting your VAVs in, but the supervisor has not yet been put in. However, there is a need for that VAV to not only be installed, but configured to operate according to the plans and specs. So we've added this standalone configuration. It is per VAV. It is designed to pretty much closely to the configuration tool, but it allows you to set all your settings, hit the save button, and you're done. Now, once you have all your VAVs installed and once you have your supervisor installed, you can still run the rapid integration tool that will build out the structure of the supervisor. Okay, we have some alarm configuration on the supervisor. This is for each device that's added. You can have, was it, I think, 8 or 9 basic alarms per VAV. Or you can, if you have the ASHRAE G36 sequences, they also provide an additional 16 alarms. But you can configure them, enable, disable, full control, and a user-friendly interface. Now this one, and this is one of those other features we are proud, very proud to present. If you haven't heard of the turnkey solution, you're really gonna want to know about this. This is a method to where what we will do in the factory is we will preload, pre-configure. Wait a minute, we already do that, don't we? But we'll configure these according to your job specs. So instead of putting in just a default station, we'll configure that according to what your job requirements are. We'll even set the IP address so you don't have to. In other words, what you'll get with the turnkey solution is you'll get your box of VAV controllers that are already set up for you. They're even labeled. All you need to do is pick one out, check the label, and install it in the right place. Once everything's plugged up and wired, it's ready to go. Now, this is helping what I mentioned earlier about taking the time from moving it out of the box and into the ceiling. It reduces that to 0. Okay. And for only $2 extra per VAV. So you can think about yourself if you've been doing this, if you've been getting these VAVs and taking the time to set all the IPs, that should represent a significant time savings for you. Now, with this one, there are some provisions, like for example, the configuration spreadsheet, the one that's built by the configuration tool. That is something that would be provided when this turnkey option is ordered. From that, we'll work with you to make sure everything is right. We have all the data perfected. Once that's done, we'll start loading them. We also have additional options for additional cost. One, the second one, building and loading, that will essentially, we'll take off a takeoff sheet, and we have a sample one that you can download from our resource site. But you can download that sample and then go to the job plans and put everything in there. And it's something we can use then to build the spreadsheet. And we'll build that spreadsheet for you, and we'll also load the controllers. And again, we will work with you with the takeoff spreadsheet to make sure that everything's set there. And then after we build the spreadsheet, we will work with you and get your sign off that, yes, this is right, and this is what I want. This meets the job specs. And then we'll start labeling. So we won't start until you have signed off on that spreadsheet. That is an option for $7 extra. And then lastly, we have the ultimate turnkey option. This is, adds an engineering element to it where we will do everything as before. We'll build a spreadsheet from your takeoff document. We'll load all the devices, but now we're going to include a supervisor in it. Now, what we'll have by adding a supervisor, we'll purchase, and this is something you'd have to get extra, an OnLogic style, I don't know what they're calling them, box computer. I don't think that's right, but it's a small box. I'm gonna use the word box again, I guess. It's a box that is a full-fledged computer with connections for monitors, USB, et cetera, et cetera. But what we can do is it'll come preloaded with Windows by default, and you can purchase it separately, even if you're not using the turnkey option. But if you do, we'll build out the supervisor station. We'll run the rapid integration tool, and now what you'll have in a single box is not just the VAVs, but the supervisor where it's already been run, and you will be able to immediately start customizing your solution. Put it in, plug it in, power it up, and in a short while, you'll be talking to all of your VAV devices. And we'll let that sink in for a bit. But the cost for that is $17 per VAV. Now, this doesn't include the OnLogic PC. And it looks like it's a hefty price, but remember, it comes preloaded with Windows 10.
It is a beefy, compact little computer.
Yes.
A couple questions. Do we have a minimum or maximum of what people can order with this solution?
The minimum is 1. Maximum is 500. That's when I say 500, it's 500 in a single order.
Okay. And we're all set up and ready to take these orders currently, right?
Yes, we are.
What is our lead time on these per each, or give or take?
The lead time varies with the quantity, but we can handle probably about 50. Well, right now we can handle about 50 in a week. If we want any more, we're going to be able to increase our capacity to handle more than that in a week for a quicker turnaround.
And obviously that lead time will also depend on getting the takeoff documents and stuff from our partners.
Yes.
And I got another question here. I'm not exactly sure what this refers to, but using the service, do you keep a record of it for future use? So I'm assuming that that's if we built out that plan and someone has comes back and they're like, I want to do this project again, do we have that takeoff available and ready so we can just turn it around again quicker?
Yes. Essentially, all files are stored on our server to where we can reference them at a later date if needed, including for a repeat order. Okay, in the interest of time, this is sort of a one summary here of all the benefits: lower total installed costs, extended life cycle, it's flexible, it's modulator, it doesn't need the supervisor to run. There's a perpetual software maintenance agreement with the license, so it's upgradable, and there is increased uptime with you using the spanning tree protocol loop. As far as the new stuff with the summary, the turnkey solution, uh, again, this is an option that is really what should help drive you to uh, decrease the amount of time you need to set up one of these systems. One of the big takeaways as well is the standard VAV station is now going to be defaulted when you receive. So if you do not specify in the order that you want to use the ASHRAE guideline 36 sequences, you'll get the standard sequence of operation. If you don't specify that, you get them all, then you find out, oh, wait a minute, I did need the guideline 36. We do have that available in our bundle download from the resource site. Okay, the local VAV configuration, granted, this is done on each device, but it really helps if you're in the thick of things and you need a configured VAV long before the supervisor is ready. And then the 2.0, some of the things we didn't go over, it's got a new look, more user-friendly. It's got a project setup wizard. You can import from spreadsheets in case you lose a project. You now will get visual feedback when exporting to a spreadsheet. You don't have to look for a log file. You get it right there. And it includes context-sensitive help. So no need to rush off to look for a booklet or a PDF. It's all right there for you. And again, all this is designed specifically to reduce the time between the box to installation to 0. And with that, that's all I got for you. Any questions?
Looks like we're getting pretty close on time, and just to respect everybody's time, appreciate for dropping by and listening today. I know it's a lot of information, so this was all recorded and it will be followed up in email to everybody and posted on YouTube as well. So you can go through it again, or you can share with people at the office. Wanted to remind once more that we will be having another webinar on a new release product, the 434 controller, which is an equipment-based controller, and we're going to talk a lot more about those new licensing options. Robert's worked and his team have worked tirelessly to create these new options so you guys can be a lot more competitive in your projects and bidding your projects. So this is going to be a great tool for everybody to cut their bottom line and make things a little more profitable. So we also have the 14-point extender that we will cover in that session, and an email will be coming out to you guys tomorrow. So make sure you jump on there and register for next week. It's next Tuesday, same time, 2 o'clock, with myself and Bob. If you have any more questions, go ahead and reach out to your regional sales manager and they'll help you out, or email us at sales@lynxspring.com and we'll help you out the best way we can. Thanks for joining us, everybody.